Hello everyone, it's Eric again with another Google Spreadsheets for Beginners lesson. This is lesson number 4, and today we're going to be talking about navigating and selecting parts of a sheet, which is really important to do as you're manipulating sheets that already have data in them. Just a quick reminder, that little cogwheel button in the bottom right of this video, you can click that, make sure you're on HD, you have the highest visual settings so that you can see everything clearly, and also you can change the speed of the video if you want things to move a little faster. You can do that, and that's the cogwheel, little wheel in the bottom right of the video. Alright, so let's get started. Let's jump into it. I'm going to disappear here, and boom, there, I'm gone, and now we can focus on the spreadsheet. We're back at our Google Sheet with the field trip information in it. So what I want to talk about today is selecting, navigating around a sheet and selecting different parts of a sheet. So if you want to select a sheet column, pretty easy. On Google Sheets, you just click the column. You can see when I clicked there, I selected everything in that column. Same thing with a row. If I want to click an entire row, you just click the number of that row and it selects the entire row. When there's not much data, it kind of seems like why would you need to do that? But if you're dealing with a sheet, let's jump over to the student info sheet. So just made up students at a school, then you see there's a lot of information here. So I could choose column C or I could choose row 8. And by clicking on the column header, you select the entire column. Now if you need to select an entire sheet, then you can click this empty square here in the top left of the spreadsheet. You can see that selects everything. Your entire sheet, everything, this entire worksheet is selected when you do that. If you need to select just a cell, well, that's just clicking inside of the cell. When you click inside of a cell, it is selected. That's how you select a cell. And if you want to select a range of cells, then you click and drag. So by doing that, and you can see there's a line around those entire cells. I've selected those cells. Go back to our sheet. If I wanted to select just the names and the number of drivers, then I could select that, and I've now selected these 8 cells. So that's how you select a range of cells. Now you can move the entire contents of a cell or of a selected cell, and the way you do that is when it's selected, you hover over the edge. If I click that and then move it, you see I've moved all the contents that were in those cells. They're no longer there. These cells are now empty, and those contents have been moved over here. I'll show you that again. If you select and you see the little blue line goes around it, and then when you hover over the edge and you see that cursor changes to a hand for grabbing, and when you click, that's a left click, it grabs it. You see the hand grab, and then you're able to move those contents. Now let's see. I want to show you about how to do how to move a row or a column. So let's go back over to the student info. Now there's 2 things to remember. When you click on that outline, even though I've got this entire row selected, or column I should say, when I click on that outline, you'll see that hand changes to a grabber. A key thing is to know that if I were to click and move this, I'm not moving that column, I'm just moving the contents. I'm just moving the content of each of these cells to wherever I move them to. That is different than if I go up here to the top to the actual header. You can see when I'm over the header of the column, my cursor changes to a hand as well. And if I click that and grab it, that's a different thing. So what's the difference? I'm going to show you. So if you want to just change the order, so let's see, I have name here, but I want name to be column A. I think that should be at the beginning. So I can hover over the column header, and you see it changes to a hand. I click that, and I drag, and you see there's this little dark gray line that's moving as I move to show me where I'm moving this to. And now it's at the far left, and I'm going to drop it there. And so what I did in doing that is I moved that entire column, not the contents of the column, but the actual column itself. I moved the entire thing over to column A. Now I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to show you what happens if you hover over the outside, which is the same thing as if as what I did before when I was back on this sheet, and I highlighted this, and I just hovered over the line and moved this. Now because these were empty, it didn't seem to do anything. It seemed to be the same as if I just picked up the entire the blocks, but I didn't actually pick up the blocks. When you do that, you're just moving what's inside the blocks, just the content. And you'll see that now, because if I hover over the line, the border line, and click that, you see it turns to that dotted line. And as I move, you're not seeing that gray line that you saw before. Now you're just seeing the dotted lines that were surrounding my data that I had chosen. And now if I drop it there, you might not have noticed that, but there was a number there that's no longer there anymore. That column's no longer there. Actually, the column is still there. It's column A, but the contents have been changed with that information I dropped in there. Let me undo, and you'll see. When I undo, see there was a student number there, a 3-digit student number in that column. But if I highlight this, and I, again, click on the outside line and grab, and you see the dotted line. And as I move, those lines move to surround the new spot. I'm going to be dropping that. When I dropped it here, that content replaced it. And you see column E, where the names were, that column is still there. It's just empty now, because I moved all the contents, all the stuff that was inside each of these cells. I picked it up and moved it, dropped it inside all the cells of column A. So that's a big thing to remember as far as the difference between moving an actual column, which is by grabbing the column header and dragging over. When you do that, you're moving. You're actually taking that entire column and you're moving that column. Student number is still there. It's just now that's column B. The column that was here, remember this information was in column F, but because I moved that and made it column A, everything shifted over, and column F is now the sex. So that's moving the entire column, grab at the top, and it moves over. But if you grab on the side, then you're just moving the contents. And that happens the same. Let's go over here to this spreadsheet. If I were to highlight Mr. Sanders and then I hover over the outline, you can see it turns into that dotted outline. And if I move it down here and drop, then what I've done is I've taken the contents that were in these two cells and I've moved them to these two cells. And it replaces what's there. So that's an important differentiation to make. And it works the same way with rows. So if I decided that for some reason Mario Lopez should be at the top of this list, I have the row highlighted. If I click here on the actual row header, which is the number, and drag that up, and you see that dark gray line moves, and I can move him to the top. Heather Foog, who was there, she still exists. I just moved Mario Lopez's row up to the top. Now, if I decided that Heather Foog is no longer going to be a part of this list, I can click the row Joe Sanders. Now I'm just clicking on that. And again, you see, when you click on the outside, it changes that dotted line. Now, you probably already figure out if I change it up here and I drop it over Heather Foog, all the information that was on line 10, the contents of each of these cells has now replaced the content on line 3, and line 10 is blank. So anyway, just an important thing to remember, and I mean it's useful. It can be handy, especially clicking on the header and then moving to rearrange information is what you'll probably use most often. Just keep in mind, if you highlight it and click on the outline, you're not moving the column. You're just taking the contents of it and replacing it or moving it elsewhere. So that's how that works. Now, a couple of things just to show you why you might want to do this. Let's see. If we took this, and because that information is cut off, you can't read it. We don't like that. So I'm going to hover over the outline of that cell, click it, and move it down here. And now, because there's no other information in the way, by moving it down where there's no other cells showing or with information, it can show the entire contents on the one line. Or maybe total drivers, I don't want to be here, I want to move that up, and so I click it and move up, and so now it's here. So there's good reasons to move the contents, but what you just have to remember is that when you highlight a cell or a number of cells, same thing with a row or column, and you click the outline, you're not cutting out those blocks or those cells. You're just taking the contents, what's inside of them, and moving that. And that's how you do that. So that's navigating sheets, and that's selecting how you select parts or all of a sheet. We'll have some more information on that, a little more tips and tricks on that in the next lesson, but that's the main part of how you navigate around and select different parts of your worksheet. Hopefully that made sense to you and was clear to you. If you have questions about it, feel free to post them in the comments below. If it's a question of something I covered, if you have a question about spreadsheets in general, then I'll probably tell you to wait for future lessons, but because I can only handle so many comments. But I will definitely always try to get back to you as quickly as I can. Don't forget to click that like button, subscribe to my channel to keep up with all my videos, favorite this playlist if you want to keep up specifically with videos in this series to learn more and more about Google Spreadsheets, because there's a lot more to come. And yeah, that's pretty much it until next time. So have a great day.